Good morning, everyone. Can we hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I would like to welcome everyone to the second session of our Deep Insight into Tech series. Yesterday, I invited speakers dealt on two aspects of tech, that is the front end and the back end. Today, we are going to be given deep insights into two other aspects of tech, that is cybersecurity and game development. Our speakers for today are well seasoned in those areas, so you can expect to have a thrill time. At the end of each session, there's going to be a question and answer segment. So if you have any questions, please kindly note them. And at the end of the session, you can ask them. Okay, our first speaker for today is Solomon Essaying. I hope I got that. Solomon is a Python developer. He's also a backend engineer. He's a developer advocate and an author ambassador. Solomon is also a TSC Unilag's core team member. Today he'll be speaking on how to build a career path in cybersecurity. You're welcome, Solomon.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
today I'll be giving a talk on cybersecurity, what it is, what it entails, and career prospects in cybersecurity. So I'll be sharing my screen now. Can you see the slide?
Yes,
Hello
I can.
everyone. Uh, okay, thank you. Okay, so today I'll be giving a talk on cybersecurity. So first, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is the protection of internet connected systems such as hardware, software, and data from cyber threats and attacks. So this practice is used by individuals and enterprises to protect themselves against unauthorized access to their data and their systems. So basically, just like the way we have threats in the physical world where armed robbers can break into your house, people can steal your phones, steal your gadgets, steal whatever asset you have, and whatever. So such also exists in the cyber world where companies can be hacked, data can be stolen, and many other things. So now, what are cyber threats? Cyber threats are cyber attacks, or basically attacks that attempt to expose, alter, disable, destroy, steal, or gain unauthorized access to, or make unauthorized use of an asset. So it's basically okay. So let me give an example of cyber threat. So for example, we all use social media. So let's take for example somebody were to hack into your account. For example, that is a cyber attack. So somebody was able to get into your account. The same can also be done for your online bank account and basically anything concerning your business online. There are also cyber attacks that targeted against companies to like deceive their systems to withdraw money, steal money from their companies, or basically just ruin a business. Now, forms of cyber attacks. So we have phishing attacks. So phishing attack is a kind of attack where an attacker clones a website and then uses social engineering to trick a user of that particular website in order to steal their password. So let's take for example, somebody wanted to gain access to your Facebook account, for example. If somebody were to use a phishing attack to do this, they would clone Facebook login page, then in one way or the other share you the link. When you open the link, you think it's Facebook or something, and then you ask for your password. Once you enter your password on such website, it goes directly to the hacker, and then the hacker has your password in plain text. So another form of cyber attack is malware attacks. So malware attacks are very common. I'm sure all of us have dealt with viruses in one way or the other. So malware attacks are basically viruses. So there are other forms of malware attacks called such as ransomwares. Ransomwares are a special kind of malware that would encrypt everything on your system, and then tell you to pay some money before you can retrieve your files. Now we also have SQL and NoSQL injection. So this particular one is common in websites that have a database. So an attacker would craft a malicious query or malicious form data and then inject into your website in order to trick your trick your database to expose its content or grant them unauthorized access to data. Another form of cyber attack is cross-site scripting attack. So this particular one is a way a hacker would embed his malicious codes on a particular website. So this particular attack is actually very dangerous in such a way that your account can be compromised by cross-site scripting attack. So I want to give an example. There was a time when I was asked to pen test a particular website, and I saw that they were not sanitizing their form input. So what I did was I wrote a code that would take their cookie, whatever cookie is saved in their browser for whatever website, and then send it to my email. And then once anybody visits that particular URL, it automatically saves their cookie if they are logged in and sends it to me. And then I can then inject this cookie into my own browser and gain access to their account. So now another form is DOS or DDoS attack. So what is this? So normally when a user visits a website, they are sending a request to the website. Now, when multiple people are visiting a website at a particular time, the website is carrying load and it has to process each of the requests one by one. So now hackers can take advantage of this and send millions of requests or billions of requests to a particular server per second, more than what the server can. Example of this is, for example, when you're balloting in Unilag and then a lot of people are trying to connect to the balloting website at the same time, and then the website just becomes slow. So now just imagine somebody were to do a DDoS attack on GTB servers, for example, and then throughout a whole day, nobody's able to make transactions, nobody's able to do any form of anything, just because their servers are being overloaded. Now, another form of attack is brute force attacks. These particular attacks are targeted against accounts. So let's say there is a particular website and then a user wanted to get and then a hacker wanted to get the password of a user. You could then try different combinations, just try almost every possible combination of password trials that he can for that particular website till he eventually gets the password. Then we now have another one called man in the middle attacks. So these particular kind of attacks are most common in network. So let's say all of us are connected to a Wi-Fi, for example, and then we are visiting a website. Let's take for example, I was on the network, I can sniff all the packets that are being sent to the server. And let's take for example, somebody wanted to make a payment online and then is entering their card details. Once they send their card details to the website, I can intercept that data, get the person's card details, and do whatever I want to do with it afterwards. So now, when you go online, you see things like don't connect to public Wi-Fi without a VPN, for example. So VPNs are a way of blocking man-in-the-middle attacks. Aside from the fact that they hide your IP address, whatever, they also prevent attacks like this. And then websites that also use SSL. That's why it's advised not to fill forms on websites that don't have SSL certificate because the data is not encrypted. So, for example, now this packet hijacking technique, if I were kind of attack that is new, let's just put it like that, a kind of new release vulnerability. So in the early days of website development, when SQL was just invented, nobody knew about SQL injection attacks. So now somebody discovered that you can inject SQL queries. Somebody discovered that you could inject SQL queries to trick a data into getting their database. So now, as I then, that was a 0-day exploit. So now there are many other exploit that you can consider as 0-day. It's just basically a new kind of attack that has not been recorded before, a newly invented attack. So now we then have social engineering attacks. So social engineering is a way of attacking a user of a website instead of attacking a website directly. So an example of this is, so sometimes you might just receive an email that you they need to do an upgrade to your account. I'm sure most have seen this SMS before, where somebody would send an SMS and say you need to send your account number or something, or somebody would call you and say, okay, they're going to send a code to you. All those kind of just basically tricking the user into getting access to their account or stealing their money or whatever. Now we have another kind of attack called cross-site request forgery, where a hacker is. So let's say we have a website. Let's take an example, an online bank. And then a hacker is able to create another website that once a user visits it, his own attacking website is able to make requests to your bank account website and then tweak things in your and basically tweak things in your dashboard or withdraw your money or whatever from another website. And then we have insider threats. So now this particular one, funny enough, it happens a lot where a cyber attack was actually insiders work. Now the effect of cyber attacks: loss of corporate information, loss of money and financial information, disruption of business operation, reputational damage to a company, and then legal consequences of a data breach. Now, let me talk on this legal consequences of data breach. So there are data protection laws that tell a business or whatever, a company or an application, whatever, to basically safeguard their data. There are cases where there will be a data breach and then a particular company would be fined money just because they were hacked. So this is an example of you losing money and then data from a cyber attack. So now, under cyber attacks, we have different fields. We have application security. These are people that basically safeguard that would be used, whereby you are just basically testing systems for security, for vulnerabilities and reporting. We have reverse engineering, where a app is reverse engineered. When I say reverse engineered, I mean it is like decrypted, deciphered, and then they go into the inner workings of the app and then try to reverse engineer it for other means. So I'm sure we must have seen things like hacked Netflix apps or a hacked Spotify app or whatever. A hacker was able to reverse engineer that app and then make it do things that it was not intended to do. We have computer forensics. Computer forensics is just basically like the way we have forensics in the real world. You also have it in the cyber world. There's systems admins where they just look over a system, protect it from attacks, especially web servers and all. There's malware analysts. These are people that create malwares and then also create antivirus systems. They basically analyze how malware works and find cures or solutions to them. Like how we have people who make drugs, we also have malware analysts who create antivirus and all. And then there's cryptography. So this aspect is basically has to do with anything encryption. They're encrypting data, they are the ones that are creating encryption algorithms and all. Now, categories of hackers. We have white hats. You can tag them as the good guys. These are the people that would hack into a system, get all the information or whatever, then report to the company and then be like, okay, I found this vulnerability, this is how to fix it and all. They are like just basically helping a company to fix their vulnerabilities. And these are the kind of people that are usually employed by companies. And then we have black hats. Black hats are people that would hack a website and exploit it for their own gain. So, for example, they were to hack, if they were to hack a bank website, withdraw the money inside, hack your bank account, hack whatever, just basically using vulnerabilities that they find in the system for their own benefit. And then we have gray hats. These are people who just perform hacking or going to cybersecurity or penetration testing just for fun. They just want to have the knowledge or just do it for fun. Sometimes they might actually decide to report vulnerabilities they find. Sometimes they might decide to take it for their own advantage. So they are not on any side, they are just in the middle. And then we have activists. These are people that don't really have a goal, they don't really have a aim. They are not reporting, they are not taking it for their own advantage, they're not acting for their own personal benefit or whatever. Just okay, just basically playing around and then attacking government, big companies or whatever. They are like, how would I put it? They call themselves like vigilantes. So like maybe we have Batman and all, so they're like the Batman of the cyber world. And now in cybersecurity, we have two teams, the reds and then the blue team, red team, blue team. So now the red team is more about attacking. Their own is to attack a system, find vulnerabilities, exploit vulnerabilities, and whatever. Then we have the blue team, which does defense. So their own is to build security systems against hackers, repair damage caused by hackers, and just basically finding vulnerabilities and then just basically securing the system while red team is attacking the system. And now let's go into penetration testing a bit. So now penetration testing is a practice of testing a computer, network, or system or whatever, and then finding vulnerabilities that a user can exploit. So now this right here is basically what penetration testing and the cybersecurity is all about. So now what differentiates the different kinds of hacker is what they do with these vulnerabilities that they find. A white hat would report to the company, a black hat would exploit, a gray hat would either exploit or report or whatever they want to do with it, or just ignore it. Or a activist might basically expose the data. Okay, like how during the whole NSAS protest that they leaked the Nigerian police force database. That is an example. Now, in penetration testing, we have 5 stages. Number one, the planning and reconnaissance stage, the scanning stage, the stage of gaining access into a system, the stage of maintaining access to a system, and then reporting analysis. So now the first stage is planning. So in this stage, they plan what they are going to test, what they are going to use to test. They are going to try and gather intelligence about the system. Okay, where the servers hosted, what softwares are they running, what are they doing on their system, just basically getting information about the system. And now we have this scanning phase where you basically just scan a server for vulnerabilities. And now there's the gaining access stage where okay, you've done your planning, how you're going to attack, what you're going to attack. You've done your scan to see, okay, this is what they use, these are the security measures in place. And then you try and gain access to a system, which is finding vulnerabilities in the network or whatever. And then now maintaining access. Now, this part is after you've gained access to a server, let's say you're able to hack a server, for example. Now, how long can you maintain access without being detected by their system? Or just staying on their server and then they don't know that, okay, aside the developers, there's a third party that has access to their server. And now the fifth stage is the analysis. They report vulnerabilities, they disclose the data that they were able to access, and then write the time that they were able to stay on the system without being detected. So now, cybersecurity roadmap. So what I would advise for anybody who wants to go into cybersecurity and all. So the first thing would be to learn Linux. Some people might say, okay, can't I use my phone or use a Windows system or a Mac? So Windows Mac phone, yes, it is possible, but then if you want the best experience, it's best to just go with Linux. And I would advise you go with either Parrot operating system or Kali or the Kali operating system. They are basically distros, Linux distros. And then the second phase would be familiarizing yourself with penetration testing tools on your distro. So Parrot and Kali already come with a lot of tools inbuilt. So you have all your tools. Not on my Linux system now, I would have showed you some of the tools. So they just contain a lot of applications that you need: port scanning, sniffing network, brute force attacks, breaking encryption. They already have them inbuilt. So just familiarize yourself with using those tools. So now another thing would be joining cybersecurity communities. This is a very key part, the very important part. Joining community, mixing with other cybersecurity personnel, learning things along the way. Once there's a new when there's a new vulnerability, you get to know it on time and basically things like that. And it also help you in building your career. And then following cybersecurity researchers on Twitter. So funny enough, there are actually quite a lot of cybersecurity researchers on Twitter that regularly post updates on whatever they find and all. So you can just follow them to just learn things. So now playing CTF. Now this part of playing CTF is basically I would not say, okay, part of your learning phase would involve you actually going to live websites and then testing. But then if you don't have authorization from such a server, from such a website or such a business to perform penetration testing on their systems, they might deem it illegal and you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. So now there are systems called CTS. The full name is Catch the Flag, where there are already systems that were purposely compromised, and then your aim is to hack into those systems and then learn along the way. So example of this are tryhackme.com and then hackthebox.com. There are a lot actually, but then the one I love the most is tryhackme.com. So they have a lot of systems, they group them into like modules. Okay, so they can tell you that okay, on this system there's this vulnerability, so your goal is to find it. It gives you SSH access and all. You just try and break into the system and many other things. And you should get certifications. So now some example of certifications that you can get are certified ethical hacker certificates, CompTIA, CISSP, CISM, CISA, NCSF, CCSP, and just basically these are just basically certifications that you can just get. Like the way we have, just like you taking courses on web development or whatever. These are like cybersecurity alternatives. And now, why should you learn cybersecurity? Number one, that's a high paying salary up to 90k USD. You are learning and building skills that only a small percentage of people know. So the thing about cybersecurity is that if we were to take a percentage of people who code and then extract the people who do cybersecurity, you would see that it's a very, very, very small percent. So you having cybersecurity skills is a plus on your own side, even if you don't take up cybersecurity full time. You just having that skill already gives you a lot of leverage because it's a skill that only a small percentage of people know. And then there's a high demand for cybersecurity experts. So now the thing is, basically every company in the world that has something doing online needs cybersecurity experts. Google, for example, Facebook, all the fan companies and whatever have cybersecurity departments and all. So you learning cybersecurity skills, so you are sure that okay, there's not like because there's a small percentage of people not enough to fill all the positions. And then there's also bug bounties whereby a company will just announce that okay, during a period of 3 months, any vulnerability you report to us, you could be awarded money, prizes, and whatever. So basically, like we have developer hackathons, there are also bulk bounties for cybersecurity personnel. So now another thing about cybersecurity is that it's an evergreen industry. As long as technology is developing, websites are getting bigger and more complex, data is growing. People are saying data is the new oil. Yes, as data is growing, you also need people to protect this data. So you are just sure that as long as tech is growing, cybersecurity too is growing because there's a need to protect these systems. Now, unlimited career growth options, opportunity to work with high profile agencies, and then it's filled with a lot of interesting moments. So I'll be running up the slide here. So run up the slide. So thank you for attending my talk.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Solomon. Honestly, that was a very, very nice session. I learned things I haven't heard before. Okay, so we'll
Okay,
be
thank
moving on
you.
to, you're welcome. We'll be moving on to our question and answer segments. So if you have any questions, please send them to the chat box. I'm very sure we have questions. Okay, while we are waiting for those that have questions to send their questions, I'm just going to give a very brief summary of what Solomon explained today. He started by defining cybersecurity. He said this is the protection of internet connected systems such as hardware, software, and the likes. He went on to explain cyber threats. Then he highlighted and explained the forms of cyber attacks. Examples are phishing attacks, malware attacks, SQL or no SQL injections, and so on. He mentioned the effect of cyber threats. He also listed some of the fields in cybersecurity. One that I'll personally want to be a part of is the systems admin, by the way. Then he went on to give examples of hackers, the white hats, the black hats, the gray hats, and the hacktivists. I really hope we all want to be white hats. Then he went on to mention the teams in cyber security, the red team and the blue team. And of course, I want to be a part of the blue team. He explained penetration testing and the stages in penetration testing. And he shared his own personal cybersecurity roadmap. I hope we all took note of that too. Then he went on to tell us why to join to learn cybersecurity. Honestly, the first reason he gave convinced me enough. The 90K, the 90K dollars annual salary. I'm already convinced. So please send. Okay. I've seen a question, and the question is: can one use Mac for cybersecurity? I heard Mac Unix is based on Linux in some way. So Solomon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use Mac for cybersecurity. So, for example, I use a Mac and then I have some tools like Bob Suite, which I use to intercept network requests, and then basically all other apps. But what I would say you should go with Linux is all these tools are already inbuilt, and then there's huge compatibility for the tools. So, for example, there are some applications I would not be able to run on my system. Yeah, I can always go through the long way of configuring and all of that, but just save yourself stress and go with Linux. But yes, it's possible to use Mac for cybersecurity.
Okay. Thank you. Osemu Diamen, I hope your question has been answered. Okay. Please, if you have any questions, please send them to the chat box. We'll be moving on to the next session, the next 2 minutes or 1 minute. 2 minutes. Let's give them time. So if you'd like to share anything you've learned today with us, you can unmute yourself and share what you have learned. I have, so someone else should too. Okay, someone is asking if we can get the slide. Um, okay. So can you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, the slides will be shared after the talk.
okay, no problem. It will be shared here and also on the DSU group. It will be shared there too. Okay, now not to waste any more of our time, we'll be moving on to our next session. Our next speaker is Michael Fagbemi. Michael is a game developer and he has 4 years plus experience in the field. Imagine, oh my god. He's currently working in Malio Games. He has gained top ranks in worldwide games jams, that is competitions. He was a finalist at a continent-wide competition, Digital Labs Africa Game Creator section. And of course, Michael has high-rated games published on Google Play Store and iOS Apple Store. Today, he will be speaking on how to build a career path in game development. So, Michael, good afternoon. Oh, still morning. Good morning. Over
Okay,
to
good
you.
morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. Hi everyone. Can you
Hi.
can you hear me? Okay. All right. And let's get started. Let me present my screen now for you. Okay. Hello, can you listen to me? Is anyone still here? Oh my god. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm having difficulties presenting my screen. So I would just like take on the topic as what I'm trying to do is currently buffering. So yeah, so game development. Yeah, this it's a very it's something that is when I started was really like strange, and before I started it was kind of like a gray area because of not a lot of people like did game dev. Through my process, I think that a lot of people are like scared because of how technical it just looks or it sounds. So today I'll be taking you through the process or taking you through the different specs, the different ways you can become a game developer, what it entails, why should you become a game developer in the first place, and yeah, and everything surrounding it so that we can get more experience and we can get more a like I said, a deep insight into this tech. Really want to appreciate the Sabbath guy because of I really enjoyed this talk. He enlightened me on like a few things. All right. Why is this thing not still running? Okay. minute. Minute. Okay, man. Okay. Okay. Why my thing is still trying to render? Let me just like start taking through the specs of game development. So number one, what is game dev? Game dev is just simply the art of making games. So it says yeah, it's that simple. There's no like crazy explanation to it. It's it's a very technical side of the industry. We are crazy tech focused, but then at the same time, it's also an entertainment industry all at the same time. So like people, so yeah, so it has a lot of bias, especially here in Nigeria. Like normally, people who seem to be playing games are normally like wasting their life or in a way. Then you now is where I'm like a game developer. And but one thing I've really noticed, it's a really fun. It's a really fun industry. It's a really fun industry, and it's something that we should get like acquainted with. So we all have played games before, whether your laptop or be it on your PS4, PS5, PS2s back then, sha. Why is it? Trying.
Okay, while we are waiting for Michael, I would like to ask Solomon a question on behalf of Lord Chooks. Lord Chooks asks he asks how can we protect ourselves from malware? You've mentioned so many
Okay.
bad threats, so how do we protect ourselves?
Okay, so the thing about malware is that there is really no true protection from it. You can just try and reduce your chances of being infected. So number one is to install an antivirus system. That is really the best way, and then only collect like things like flash drives, files from people you actually trust. Don't just collect flash from anybody, because that is like the most common way of infecting yourself with malware. And then be careful what you download online, especially people using Windows and then you see a cracked app for something and then you just go and start downloading. Some people might actually just embed virus into these things and then you end up installing a malware on your system instead of a cracked app. And then another way of securing your system would be, I would say, move to Linux or Mac. Not like there are no viruses for it, but then the percentage of the chance of you being infected are way less. Almost every Windows user has encountered virus at one point in time in their life. But then there are people who have been using Linux for 5 years plus 10 years and then have never said anything like, oh, I once had a virus. So that's basically it. And then even antivirus systems are not really secure because in malware analysis there are antivirus invasion techniques that somebody who's making a virus can use to make their virus undetected by heuristics engines. And even people who have made viruses and then they are now being detected by popular antivirus systems can do some bit of modification to their code and then end up being invisible to antivirus systems. And then one thing about me is that I don't really like antivirus systems at all because I just see them as scam and then the company just wants to collect your money at the end of it. So the best thing is just to switch to Linux or Mac.
Mm. Thank you for that. For those of us that use Windows, I hope you've heard. Okay, I want to ask another question on behalf of Bami. She said, Ghost, are you taking interns or housemaid?
I'm not taking anyone.
Okay, okay. Um, on behalf of Daniel, Daniel is asking, can you explain what gray hackers entail?
Okay, so grey hackers are, let me just call them hobbyists, people who have the cybersecurity skill, but then they don't, like, their main purpose of having the skill is not to find vulnerabilities and report to a company or find vulnerabilities and then hack systems and all. Okay, for example, I'm a grey hat and um the main thing I do with tech and all is development with Python. But then I have that cybersecurity skill by the side, which I can then use it to protect my own apps. And then from time to time I might just go online, see a particular website, and then find some vulnerabilities. There are some times when I would write an email to their customer support telling them, okay, I found this and this is how to fix it. And there are times when I might actually exploit it for more personal gain. And there are times when I'll just see the vulnerability and then just record that, okay, yes, this exists, and then ignore it. So they don't have a side where, okay, all they do is report or all they do is exploit. They are just in the middle. They just have that skill, and then this might not even be what they do mainly. Or basically people who are not entirely linked to a company reporting vulnerabilities and might just be popping up doing bug bounties from time to time. So I hope that answers the question.
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you. Okay, please mute your mic. Mute your mic. Okay, okay. My own personal question for Solomon. Um, I'm very sure that after this talk, many people may want to delve into the cybersecurity space, and definitely they'll need someone to guide them since there are not many people that are into it. So, are you willing to mentor those interested in cybersecurity, and how do we reach you if we are interested?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Well, I can say I can mentor in the sense that I can give tips on what to do and then entertain your questions and problems. But then the thing is, I might not always be available. So that's how I would say, okay, I'm only available for like partial mentorship. I might be there sometimes, I might not be there. Most times, I might not be there. So let me just say yes or no for that. And how you can reach me? Um, okay, I think I should drop my Twitter link. Okay, I'll drop my Twitter link in the chat, and then you can also contact the DSC lead if you want my direct contact.
Okay, thank you very much, Solomon. Michael, I don't know if you're ready now.
So I just dropped my Twitter URL in the chat box.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Solomon.
Okay. Hello.
Michael.
Yeah. Okay, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so unfortunately, I still have problem with sharing my screen. So I will just continue like this, if that's fine.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, first question for today is yeah, what is game development? And I started it by saying that game development is simply the art of making video games, right? And then you ask, then I would also put in that game development, as it being a tech industry, it's also an entertainment industry. That means it gets a lot of revenue. Last year alone, making up to like more than $80 billion revenue, just as a collectively, that was of 2019. So so like it has both the perks of being a tech company and also being an entertainment industry. Um, why do you want to do why game dev? And that's the question that so many people like. Why do I want to indulge in game dev? Number one, game dev has a lot of income potential. Income potential in the sense that, like, on an average game developer ends up to, that's in the US anyways, ends up to 80K dollars. That's the minimum average of and 80K is that 30 million? That's of annual. That's like 30 million. And the income potential is so mad that um, companies like Candy Crush and the rest just um just put their game on and they make billions every day. Like, literally, before you enter, like most of us, before we enter like a tech space, you generally want to like figure out the revenue, what's the possibility, which is normal. Us being Nigerians, it's a, it's a really, it's a really normal thing, chat. So that's one reason. The income potential is crazy high. If you make something that's really that has really influence on the community, or that blown gone, as it being in the entertainment industry, it can literally last forever. Number two is the cheapest way to run a business. What do I mean by the cheapest way to run a business? Um, Apart from like other businesses where you have to buy like licenses or so, like you can do game dev without literally spending a dime. And I think this goes to like mostly every programming um every programming aspect. You can literally like become you can start a business with just your laptop and like be publishing games online, publishing games on the app stores. And yeah, it's very, very possible. I think the only thing that you have to buy is like probably like a Google Play account, or or Apple account. But still, yes, it's still one of the most cheapest ways to like run a studio or run a business. Number three on why you should do game development is that it makes you a more resilient person. Now, game development is lots and lots of creativity in it, like crazy amounts of creativity. And as fast, just imagine you building or creating a toy now, and someone tells you your toy is rubbish. Someone tells you that like your baby is ugly, something like that. It gives you a more tougher skin, because of, like I said, we are still in the entertainment industry. People don't really care about this thing, the back end, or the work that has you have gone through to make that particular thing come to life. So like makes you a more resilient person. And apart from it being taxing and stressful, you end up having to deal with a lot of like fears. Will my team blow? Will it not blow? Like stuff like that. But if you're in a company, it's not really a problem, because of you are just working on based on what they see you should work. Just like normal work, sha. But then you get more resilient. Like recently, a very popular game got delayed. Sorry, can you guys still hear me? 'Cause I feel like-
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay. So recently, a really popular game, Cyberpunk 2017, got deleted, and the developers got like dead, like kill your family, stuff like that. Like stuff like that would make it just like what it might seem like a bad thing, but it is a bad thing to get death threats. But on a general mode, like you become a more like a resilient person. And number four, why do you want to do game development is a creativity explosion. Now, during when I was starting, there was a lot of like web developers, and like literally everybody that I met that was in programming was a web developer backend. It was still like very, very little other fields. So it was kind of saturated in a way. And I kind of started with that, but it didn't end up being my thing. So I go when I got into game dev, it was like a mind blowing experience. The creativity potential is like crazy large. It's crazy large. You can decide to be a software engineer today, working on the code and the back end. Tomorrow you can say, oh, I want to start doing the art. I want to start drawing. I want to start doing the 3D models. You can say, oh, what about do the animation? Or what about doing the music? Learning game dev is like a very, very creative experience in which I have been able to touch most parts of tech by just learning game dev. I got into UI because of game dev. I got into going to AI because of game dev. It's a very and you can't easily get bored because of you are hardly doing you are like hardly doing the same thing um at the same time. Sure. Like how you doing I'm just doing the same thing almost like every time. You can decide to be a software engineer today, you can decide to be a designer, decide to be an artist, you can get into music or sound. Either ways, it has a very large amount of creativity and a large amount of like paths you can follow by you just indulging into game dev. And the last thing about it is that it's crazy fun. Um, why if you want to join game development is that it's immensely like crazy fun. You'll be able to create something from scratch, and you'll be able to. I made this. This is my this is my baby. Yeah, it's a really like fun experience in which I myself I don't think I'm going to go into any other field. Like I don't think I will enjoy any other field for now. Programming on its own is like crazy fun. But then when you now add like an amount of creativity, an amount of like of coding. You can see what you built work real time. You can share to people and get mixed reactions. It's a really like fun experience. I think when you are doing game jams or game competitions, one of our like it's very weird, but one key factor is that is the stress. And the stress is like probably the most fun part of it because of in a game competition you have to build a game within 2 days or within like 7 weeks. So it's and that was like literally one of the most beautiful like one of the cool things about it. So yeah. So now I've talked about why game development. Now let's ask ourselves one simple question. What is a video game? Very like a very weird question, right? So a video game is oh my god, what's my yeah, because so a video game is simply an electronic is simply a game that is played electronically, which is based on inputs, outputs, feedback. Literally, it's a form of entertainment which is very different from every other form of entertainment. Um, that's different from drama, different from movies, different from music because of one key factor. It's able to give you choice. It is able to give the user choice. Choice in the sense that able to give the user choice. And when I say choice, I mean that you are the hero of your story. You're not watching the hero of your story. So anytime you play GTA now, it's not Trevor that shot the police officer. It is you that did it. When you are either in Assassin's Creed and you're flying off, or a Superman in a game, you are not you are not watching Superman. You are currently Superman. You are able to engage your environment around you, in which it brings you a very a satisfactory feeling. And we as game developers tend to like, how can we make the player feel more satisfied about the world he is right now? So it's a very what's the word again? Explorative kind of design. It excels in the fact that you are the hero of your story. You are not just watching the hero. You are able to do things. You are able to choose when the narrative is supposed to go forward. And yeah, and also the I will say that in game development you do a lot of story writing, like not basically not like deep into it, but then you have to get into writing. Um yeah, so it's a really like fun. You can decide not to choose. You can decide to choose a particular career path or not. So yeah, so the next thing is what does a game consist of? So now a game consists of a scene, of an asset, of assets, of code, and of a system. So now when I say scene, a scene can literally mean 2D or 3D. A scene is either a 2D or a 3D scene. When somebody says 2D, 2D is just like two-dimensional, which is X or Y, which is up or down or left or right. That is the only possible ways you can move. And we normally use sprites. Why is mine? Come on, give me this. We normally use 2D sprites for 2D, and for 3D, three-dimensional, your X, Y, Z, basic stuff. So your scene is where everything happens. The scene is where everything happens. You have a camera who in a scene. Camera is the viewport in which the player sees the world. We have assets. Assets in the sense that assets go to the music, the 3D characters, the 2D UI. Yeah, I think that's basically all, and some other internal factors that are in the game that you can see or you can hear. That is what an asset is. Then we have code. Code is literally the brain of everything. Everything it ties everything together. Um, Famous programming languages: C++, C Sharp, Python. Um, okay, so someone said what's the difference between app development and game development? Now there are two different courses of in game development. It's just like you're creating games, and in apps you're creating apps. Now a game is an app, but it's like I said, it gives you choice, and it's a more of an entertainment kind of thing. It's very different from an app, which if you go into Play Store, you will definitely see there's a game category and there's an app store category. That's also a category. So I was saying that the part we have code, and code is everything that ties together. So in my code, I can say that hey, I want to throw. If I throw a ball and it touches the ground, it should explode. So code is everything that ties all the assets and make everything work together. Next we now have the system. We have different kinds of systems that we create. System is basically where a game is being played upon. So we have your mobile phones, we have your PC, as your laptops or your desktops, we have your console, your PS5, your PS4s, then we have your VR systems, which is quite new, and it's really like new and emerging or something in game dev. Yeah, so that's what programming like entails. So why so we asked the question of why game dev. So I want to ask like why game dev in Nigeria, like out of every other place to be. Number one, it's an untapped what's it again? Industry in Nigeria. It's very young, very young and growing. The game development industry, like the cyberspace, not a lot of people do it. Like even when I was doing mine, like I couldn't. It was very hard for me to find someone else who was also into game dev into the industry also, and which makes it like very very like young in industry and untapped, and at the same time you engaging in it in Nigeria doesn't just means that like when it's like blows up, it doesn't get too saturated. It's still new, so it's still growing, and we engaging ourselves is building up the industry slowly and slowly in Nigeria. At least one thing we know is that every most Nigeria in a Nigerian home there should be a mobile phone in most Nigeria apart from rural. So the tech um we are still like way backwards in some of in tech in here in Nigeria, which is which is a big drawback for us because of we work on those systems, but then like most of the time you don't see developers in Nigeria building games for PC and market. It's PC or laptops or consoles. It's not even possible because of the the people in Nigeria won't engage because they don't have those systems. So most of the time we tend to go for mobile phones, which is easily more accessible to everyone in the to everyone here in Nigeria. So yeah, so there are really cool Nigerian games online. You can check it. For one, I went to the Unreal devlog or a talk, and in which some guys made a fighting game featuring Faust, Archer, Butter. It really is on. I think is it on mobile. I've forgotten the name of the game, but it's a really cool like fighting to the experience. The company I work for, Mario Games, is one of like the very very few industries here in Nigeria. Um, we have made we're currently making a game called What King. We made a game called Abuki Run. That was like way back, which was apparently the one of the first Nigeria games to get a feature on, which is the first Nigeria game to get a feature on the Google Play Store. And we are constantly growing. We are constantly growing. So if you have heard of Giddy Run, you have probably heard of have you heard of Oga on the Top, which was a very like party game back then. Cool stuff. So it's a game development in Nigeria. It's a very like very young and untapped industry, and you get into it early just means that you can be a pioneer of one really booming and successful industries like above the world. It's very like if you go abroad, this one thing that is very sure that if you're into games or even tech, but like I said now, game is not just a tech. It's not just a tech industry. It's an entertainment industry also. So it embodies both of them together. And someone like if you want to like really like be madly successful or be madly like have insane money or amounts of that, it's mostly game dev, and it's as it's growing in Nigeria. It's a really like I said, an untapped resource that we all should like get involved in. So yeah, so now I've just rambled about um game dev, what it entails, why it's in Nigeria. Now I want to talk about how to get started. Now, first and foremost, I might say that don't be scared, even though it's highly technical. There are some parts in which sometimes we can't even wrap our heads around. But once you get started, just the same way like with programming, it's to get easier from them. So if you want to start, the first thing that you probably want to get started with to do is using a game engine. Now, what's a game engine now? A game engine is A game engine is basically an app or a software which helps us create games. It takes care of these physics systems for us. It takes care of the UI component for us, so we don't end up having to build everything from scratch. So you don't end up having to build everything from scratch. So a game dev it's the best way for you to start, and it's probably the best thing. Like there are different kinds of like game engines. We have the Unity 3D game engine. We have the Unreal Engine. We have the Godot. We have Game Maker. All these things makes game dev very, very, very easy for us. One other thing again, if you are getting started, is that your programming skills should be top notch already. Now, there are some of these game engines that you probably don't even need to write code at all, which is yeah, there are some game they have made it like very easy and accessible that you probably don't even need to write code at all. Okay, I don't need to write code, but then your coding skills need to be up and par for you to. So all things from arrays to structs, those are into object-oriented programming. All your integers, your booleans, your strings, all those are very, very important. Getting to master all those basic parts of programming will help you in a very, very long run with those game engines. Um, yeah, so the game engine I use personally is the Unity 3D game engine. It's quite it's easy to use, and yeah, it gives you a lot of space for creativity and a lot of freedom. How many people can get involved? Okay, so yeah, it depends on your kind of projects. Daniel is asking how many people can be to be involved in development process or creation. It depends on your project and the scope of your project. Now, normally for an indie just means an independent developer. You end up just having only a one man team, a one man that will do just the code, the assets, the arts, to do the music, we do basically everything. We have one man and we have big companies. Now a company big as Activision that does Call of Duty now, we have like crazy amounts of number, like more than 5,000 amounts of developers, of people working on this stuff. Crazy amount. But then you can have like small teams from you can even do solo. So it's not it can't it doesn't there are a lot of great games that are made by just one person. Minecraft now, I don't think you guys have heard of Minecraft. It was solely made by one person, and it's today people call Minecraft the game that will never die. The amount of the amount of love it has gotten and the amount of revenue it has gotten over the years and make it stand, which was created by just one person. So yeah, anybody can do, like, you can just do game devs. Like me, basically, most of the games I publish are just made by only me. Okay, on getting started, the programming language I use is the C# programming language. It's an object oriented programming language. And what is object oriented programming language? It's basically how like how would I break it down now? Just that it's basically programming that deals more with objects, that deals more with classing, with classes. Yes, that's the word. Classes. It has well, it's quite complex for me to explain here, but it's quite complex for me to explain here. But the use of programming languages from C# to to JavaScript to Python, we all use this all our object oriented programming. So if you don't, if you are if you have like probably converted with Python, to try Python out. There are different engines that you use. Now, I also do think something that the like gameplay is very
Michael, please, we can't hear you.
cheap. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I was saying that game dev is cheap, but then it requires a lot of like time and patience to like create a game, especially if you want to make a quality one. It takes time to make a really good one. Um, how to get started? So someone asks, does a game developer need to learn 3D modeling, e.g., using Blender? Yes, you need to, but it's not necessary. The company I work in, I don't do the 3D program 3D modeling. I basically just focus on just the programming. Then someone else does the 3D modeling. But like I said before, um game dev it's a very broad, like very broad. So you learning everything is very, very like very important. I will help you go. Help you. Okay. Um okay.
Okay. Okay. Michael, thank you very much for that session. I learned a lot, and I have a question for you after I summarize
Okay.
this session.
All
Okay.
right.
If you have any questions for Michael, please send them to the chat box. And immediately
Okay.
after this Q&A session, we are going to be going into our quiz section. So get ready.
All right.
The code will be sent to the chat box shortly. Okay, so while waiting for others to ask their questions, I'm just going to summarize everything that Michael said. He started by telling us what game development is all about. Then he went on to mention why we should delve into game development. One thing I like about our speakers for today is they are trying to convince us by starting with one of the most important things, which is the income. So that's where Michael started, and I like that. Then I also like the fact that the creative explosion in game development is high. I went on to define video games. He mentioned what a game consists of: scenes, assets, code, system. Before Daniel asks his question, I actually plan to ask whether it is compulsory for one person to be involved in all these aspects of game development. But thankfully, he has already answered that question. Then he outlined why game development should start in Nigeria, or why we should do game development in Nigeria. His reason was that game development is an untapped industry in Nigeria. So starting can make one become a pioneer in that field, or it can make one blow in other terms. Then he went on to explain how we can start a career in game development. Now, my question for Michael is, what language is best for game development? Like, I hear that I hear that Python is not a very good language for game dev. So what language would you recommend? And is Python good enough?
Okay. All right. Thanks. I would definitely recommend C sharp or C plus plus. Mostly the C languages. Python is the reason why Python is not a it's not strong because of the engine, which is Pygame. It's not a production. It's not a battle tested language. It's not a battle tested this thing, engine. When I say battle tested, I mean that not like it does not lead into production state because of we are not just doing this as a hobby. We also do it as a profession. We want to make we want to be able to ship our thing up there to the public. And Python hasn't really evolved in game dev to that standpoint. So my own advice is that you should start with either C sharp or mostly C sharp though, or C plus plus. But then I personally use C sharp as a language.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Um, Daniel has a question. His question is, what of in terms of the game graphics, especially environment creation, environment creation, character, how are they created?
Okay.
I don't. Okay.
Okay. So like I said, we have two types. We have either 2D or we have 3D. So now, if you are talking about 3D, you have to use a modeling software. The very popular one, which is free, is Blender. Then we have Crit. No, not Krita. We have Maya. We can also use Maya to do game dev, which is to create 3D models, 3D from the houses to the trees to the characters. Even in Blender, it's also an animation software in which you can animate your characters. Then want to talk about 2D. You also have to talk about we'll talk about Photoshop. Photoshop is a really popular 2D player. You can draw your characters, you can create different kind of UI elements. We have Krita. Krita is also a really cool cool 2D software which you can use to create 2D assets. Yeah, basically. Yeah, I think that's how it's created. So do you have any more questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. For now, there are no more questions.
Okay, so
Okay, it's
let me
okay.
quickly can I quickly okay I quickly round up. So the
Yeah.
so even though it might seem taxing or well or overwhelming, like I said, like it's crazy fun. One thing that has really stood out for me through my years is soft skills. What do I mean by soft skills? Soft skills are basic thing that each developer needs to have basically. So stuff like communication, teamwork, because you can be in a team of 4 or 5 people, and since it's a more of a creative process, everybody can have my own idea. Hey, I want the guns which is not the bomb, or once so you must be able to able to cope with different kinds of things. That's why like soft skills are really really important. How do you narrate? How do you converse or how do you converse with the consumers? How do you converse with your boss? How do you converse with your teammates? And it goes like more beyond more beyond even communication. You have a lot of discipline because of there are times in which is most every time that we mostly spend you mostly spend a lot of time working on your game. Yes, and if you have any questions, you can just DM me. If you want to get if you feel like this is a very fun or if you feel like this is a very um awesome thing to get into, you can just reach me up and I can quickly I can give you guidelines and steps. Okay. Okay. Are there game dev communities in Nigeria? Okay. Okay. Have you Okay. So yes, there are game dev communities in Nigeria, but they are very, very few. We have the I have like a we have I have a few of them. If you text me on WhatsApp, I can send you links so you can join them. There are very few. Even one we are hosting. My company right now is trying to still bring up the game dev community in Nigeria. So we are offering a 250K competition in which like the best game in the competition will be given a you win a cash prize just to encourage game developers here in Nigeria. We have other like great communities, even before even Nigeria communities in online communities, Reddit, Discord, YouTube. They are really, really awesome communities that you can get into and like feel accustomed, I feel blend this thing. Okay, so, all right, so Kalize, how many years of experience do you have? So I started like 4 years ago. That was in when I was in year one. I'm currently in year four now. Yeah, basically that's all. In terms of character movements, I did draw separately. All right, so Daniel is asking in terms of character movements, are they drawn separately with their assets in hand or without? How long does it take a single developer to create a 2D game or a 2D game? Is UI UX designed okay? So number one, yes. So in animation, that is animation side of things. So that's the reason why I love game dev because of how broad it is. So something like animation, which is moving industries and stuff like that. I animation is quite very key to creating a really good good game. So characters are drawn differently. This is 2D. They are drawn differently, frame by frame, by either by hand or by under like animation software. But they are drawn frame by frame just means like each step is being drawn just like normal animation process. That's the same way like a 2D character is being made. And 3D model and 3D animation is basically it's still the same keyframe animation, but it's not you're not drawing them out. You can they can be exported out separately, but if you want to get more into that, you can just go and check tutorials on 3D animation. Not even like into game dev, just check animation, and that will still have like a lot to game dev. How long does it take a single developer to create it? It depends more on you. It depends on the scope of the projects. You can spend 2 years working on a project. You can spend 2 weeks working on a project. You can spend 2 days working on a project. It just depends on your scope, or it depends on what you want to make. Developers that made what's the name of this game again? Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird was a very like if who has played Flappy Bird before? Was like I think it was under like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. The developer made it and he made like a lot of income. And then there are games that have been made like a span of like 1 year to 2 years to 6 months. I generally personally I tend to make my project short. The longest I have been is 3 months. The longest I've spent on the project is 3 months because of mostly mobile games don't take much time unless you're creating something really, really big. How long does it take a developer to create a 2D? How long does it take? Okay, yes, UI UX is very, very important. And I won't say it again. UI UX is very, very, very important. So you look at things like main menu, your post menu, you have to know how to use your UI because of it's basically the same thing in your web and development. Says that UI is the first thing that you look upon once you start the game, and if your UI is not looking nice at all, it's going to have very very bad reactions, very very bad reactions to it. So yeah, so learning UX is also like quite important in making a really fun and immersive experience for your users. Um, yeah, slides. I think I'll drop the slides.
Okay. For our last question, what
Mhm.
is the salary scale of game devs in Nigeria? I'm sorry, that will be the last question we're going to take today because of time.
Okay. I said this before. It is ranging for an annual of $80,000, which can say like approximately 30 million in Nigerian in naira. That is annually. That is annual. That is for the average. It depends. Here in Nigeria, since it's an untapped industry, um, they don't seem to pay that much. But like I said, the income potential is very very large. Even make a hit game, it's more like creating a hit song. You can make billions or make millions out of it, basically.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Michael. That
All
was a
right.
very, very inspiring session. Hopefully, we'll have many of us delve into game development. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm going to drop my number and I will send the slides.
okay, please
Okay.
do.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so it's time for our quiz. I'm very sure many of us have been waiting for this. So, um, mm,
That's nice. That's nice.
I don't know if we can we all see my screen. Okay, so I'm about to start the quiz. The code is 77844. So let's head on to Slido. So we can join the quiz now. Okay, SP has joined. Let's make it snap. Let's join. Let's join. Let's join. Let's join. We have 6 participants. We are 27. At least let me see up to 20, please. If I start. I'm very sure there are prizes to be won. I hope. Okay, 8 people. Let's be fast though. Time is going. If you know you want to leave here by 1, please. Okay. We have 9. 9 is a low number out of 26 people. Okay, 10 now. This is an opportunity to win something today. We have 11. 11. MacBook, come. Hey, I hope we registered for the source code hackathon. If you want to win MacBook, go and register for that hackathon. You win MacBook. Okay, you'll be fine. Okay, we are just 12. Please, let's join. Oh. This is less than half of us that are here. Oh, we are. These are quiz section. So head on to slido.com and enter the. Okay, maybe I should just let me resend the link. Oh, Fifi, don't break our hearts now. Let's join. No, I'm going to start by 12:40, so I don't waste any more time. Okay, people are saying we should start now. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, 15. Let's just wait 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 7.5. After 7 is what? 6, 5, 4.5, 3. Oh, sorry, 4.5, 4, 3, 2. And I am starting. The quiz has started. When Michael Jordan, honestly, I don't know this. I can't even try. So what's the answer? Yeah, 6. Hmm. What's the shortcut for the copy function on most computers? I would have said the answer, but I don't want to help people cheat. Okay, since people know something. Control C. Let's move on. Who was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize in 1903? Something is telling me it is Marie Curie. But let's see. Eish, I said the answer. Okay. Okay, let's move on. What year did Nigeria become a republic? I'll say the answer after the 3, 2, 1. And okay, everybody got it done. 1963. Which queen was Julius Caesar involved with? Okay, let's see the answer. Ooh, majority got it. That's good. In which body part can you find the femur? And one biology student, that should be the what now? Leg. You don't know. Okay, let's see the answer. I got it though. Okay. What percentage of our bodies is made up of water? Hmm. Okay. Okay. Next question. The eighth question. Who is the strongest Avenger? Captain Marvel. Hey, I don't know. Okay. Hulk. Hmm. Sorry, Adevo. Pele. Okay, what is the name of Batman's butler? Alfred. Excuse me. Hmm. Alfred. Now the last question. Who is Naomi Osaka? Hmm. Okay. An athlete. Yes. The answer is eh, majority got it. Hmm. Don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, so the winner for our quiz section is Draw. Then I am Mastercraft and our very own Lord Ghost X Solomon. So thank you everyone for participating. I wish there was prize, but I guess not. I pray God touches Ifian's heart before the end of this event. Okay, congratulations, Drew. It shows you know a lot. Congratulations, I am Mastercraft. Congratulations, Lord Ghost. Congratulations, Ose. And congrats. Okay, I can't say it again. And congratulations, Lawizi. And of course, congratulations to everyone that participated in the quiz. Thank you very much. Oh, still no prize. Okay. Okay, so we've come to the end of our quiz section. Thank you very much for everyone who has stayed. I want to thank our speakers for number one, showing up, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Honestly, today you have convinced me to delve into two aspects of tech that I've never considered trying. Thank you very much. Why won't I want to give? Um, Solomon, why don't you do giveaway for us now? Since Ifeanyi doesn't want to, you can. Abi, you guys, what do you feel? It's true now. Solomon should do giveaway. Yes, now. Abi wants to do giveaway for us. No amount is too small. You're doing civil service. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for attending this event. That is the second session in the Deep Insight into Tech series. At this point, I'll hand over to our able lead, Fiam.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's program. Like we all know, it's a week event. Yesterday we had the front end and back end track, and today we're having the cybersecurity and game dev. So tomorrow we'll be having on technical writing and UI. So if you want to know more about technical writing, for people that don't know how to code like me, I want to write or like writing, you can come tomorrow to learn more about technical writing and also UI. Especially for people that are doing, I love front end, and it doesn't even have to be front end, just anything. You can come tomorrow and we'll learn more about it. So thank you very much and have a lovely day. Enjoy yourself. And there's no giveaway, sorry. One day there'll be giveaway during the week, Sha. Ghosts should um if ghosts should drop money. Thank you very much. Bye everyone.